Well, this could be a whole different story now in the Middle East as the chessboard in place for decades is starting to see a new and frightening dynamic. The militant group Hamas taking to the streets of Gaza, vowing that Israel will pay the price for the deaths of 7 members in Israeli airstrikes overnight. This following the abduction and murder of 3 Israeli teenagers who were found in graves last week, and an apparent revenge killing, the burning of a Palestinian teen, according to reports. Things are very, very tense in this situation. Katie McFarland joins us now, our Fox News national security analyst. We have a soundbite from Ambassador Derner of Israel from over the weekend about the tension that is escalating there based on the deaths of these teenagers. Here's what he had to say.
That if these are Jews who are going to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, if they perpetrated these crimes, they will not be hailed as heroes by Israeli political leaders. There will not be public squares in Israel that will be named after them. Little schoolboys and schoolgirls in Israel will not emulate them as heroes. And that's exactly what we have on the Palestinian side.
Your thoughts on that?
You know, the ambassador's absolutely right. If there's somebody in Israel who they think has gone over the line, done something he shouldn't have done, that guy has to face the full effect of the Israeli law. On the other side, there doesn't seem to be that. We're saying, when is the last time you heard a Palestinian leader say, oh, somebody's has killed an Israeli, we're going to make sure that guy sees justice? It is it's almost like there's a different standard. And we should understand they are not equivalent standards, that the Israelis treat the kind of ensuing violence that happens very differently than the Palestinians do. It's almost to the extent that the Palestinians are inciting the violence, hoping the Israelis respond, hoping that it gets to be a bigger fight.
I mean, you can't kill 3 Israeli teenagers without hoping and knowing that there will be retaliation.
Yeah.
That there are reasons to see a very similar pattern in what we're seeing right now, but there's also some suggestion that this is part of a larger framework that's quite dangerous.
And that's the key. You know, we see, more violence in the Middle East. We kind of tend to roll our eyes, say, oh, here we go again. And there are 2 different fights going on. One is what's happening in Syria and Iraq, and that's essentially al-Qaeda versus Iran. The Israeli fight's a different one. That's Israel versus the Palestinians. That's been going on for a long time. It's always sort of a chronic low boil, and then every now and then it boils over where you have intifadas. We may see the beginning of that now. This may escalate into more Israeli-Palestinian violence.
Israeli forces clashing with Palestinian protesters after the body of a Palestinian 16-year-old was found in Jerusalem. The Palestinians now blame his death as revenge killing for the Israeli teenagers.
The concern I've got is if those 2 groups get together, if those 2 fights join. Now, the fighters in Syria and Iraq, the al-Qaeda group there, they've said, we're not stopping here. We want to go to Lebanon. We want to go to Jordan. We want to be in the Sinai Peninsula. If you look at a map, those are all the countries and regions surrounding Israel. So Israel may have a much bigger problem on its hands than just the Palestinians on its border. If it has Syria, Jordan, Lebanon on its north and east, as well as potentially in the Sinai Peninsula on its south, if it's got to defend against all of those al-Qaeda-linked groups, then this is a much bigger fight.
Isn't that essentially why Israel has been, yelling and agitating for more attention to what's going on around them, and wanting the United States to be stronger in its defense and helping out more in Syria to quell the rebels in Syria. You know, I mean, they've always been concerned that this is a tinderbox all around them.
And that it's getting worse. I mean, Israel, for example, there's something called the Iron Dome that the Israelis developed, brilliantly so, and it's an effect that any missile that's shot into Israel, the Israelis can see where it's coming the minute it's launched and decide that's going to Tel Aviv, we're going to shoot that down, or it's going to go into the desert and we don't care. Israel needs a little more help with that. They need a little more financing of their Iron Dome system. They're never talking about American boots on the ground. Unlike everybody else in the Middle East, they're not asking for that. They're just asking for the help they need to defend themselves.
Do you see any signs that these groups are linking, that they are, you know, supported by each other, or are they just sort of peripherally fortified by a common cause? Well,
you'll only know that when it starts happening. I mean, they're not all going to carry card-carrying members of Al-Qaeda, but Al-Qaeda, the new leader in this new state of Syria, Iraq, has said, we want to go next to Jordan. We're going to destabilize Jordan. They're already know in southern Lebanon it's destabilized.
How does Jordan defend itself?
Well, you know, this is the bigger problem in the Middle East. Are they going to be like dominoes? We've always discredited domino theory, but this time we may want to reconsider it. I'm particularly concerned, though, about the Sinai Peninsula. That's the desert area that's to Israel's south, and it strides the Suez Canal. If Egypt can't get Al-Qaeda in the Sinai Peninsula under control, then you'll see an Al-Qaeda that's using that area to launch attacks elsewhere.
They would love to have that area, of course.
Oh, my gosh, they're salivating for it.
This is alert now. There is chaos yet again in the Middle East, as shown here. Hamas unleashing dozens of rockets again overnight into Israel, sending these wedding guests running for their lives in the central part of the country. As Israel launches its largest offensive in 2 years against several targets inside the Gaza Strip.
Jerusalem, of course, just a few dozen miles to the northeast, or I should say northeast of Gaza. Military officials in Israel say they also stopped Hamas fighters who tried to attack by sea.